Well, since you're eating, Brandon, and you know all the people love it when you eat, I'll kick this one off. I'll start talking until you're finished eating. But
these are some good ass cherries.
what are you eating? Cherries?
Yeah, look how big these things are. They're like perfect cherries.
Kendall came home with a cherry plum the other day, and it's literally like I don't even know what the hell it is. It's a mix of a cherry and a plum. I don't even know what it. Yeah, I tried one. Tastes like a plum
over here.
Hey, somebody got mad there, like on the comments, because random that we're starting with food again. We're just randomly talking about food. Like, was that food thing supposed to be funny? It wasn't. I'm like, we're talking about whatever the hell I want to talk about. Like,
just chilling. We're hanging out.
Yeah, I'll talk about your hat. I'll talk about my earbuds, like food. Maybe we won't even talk about fighting. I'll talk about whatever I want to talk about.
We need to start doing podcasts without fighting. There's so many topics to discuss in the world.
Oh yeah, give me anything except for fighting, and I'm happy.
All right. Well, we are on limited time today, so we better just jump right into it.
Let's get it going. But really quickly, sorry for the late upload, you guys. This was, man, you see, we're remote. We are not in the podcast room. I thought I was going to be able to get it done, and I actually got the podcast room 100% finished. I just didn't have time to get everything put together. Cameras, mics, just the studio and everything set up. So I assure you next week we will be on time. I really wanted to do it, like I said, just in studio, but we didn't make it. But let's get into this week because we don't have a lot of time. I want to try to get this. It is Thursday afternoon. I'm going to try to get this uploaded hopefully today before I go back to the gym. Worst case scenario, Thursday night, this will be up. But we've got just a card stacked with violence. And we'll get into the actual card here in a second. But like most of these fights are really exciting fights on paper, except for Miranda, Maverick, and Cachoeira or whatever. What fight do you think might actually bomb it in terms of excitement factor? Is there anything where like people think is going to be a great exciting fight and it's going to be dumb?
I'm trying to look. I kind of think all these fights are going to be pretty entertaining. I mean, all the way through, this looks like a pretty fun card.
Yeah, on paper it does. The one that I think is going to let us down is Ferguson and Bobby Green. I think those two. Was
anyone that hyped for that fight though?
No, but it's high on the card. The card as a whole, and Bobby Green's generally fun to watch. I feel like it's going to be 15 minutes of them shadow boxing and Ferguson turning his back and I don't know, just a bunch of weird shit. So I don't think it's going to be as entertaining as we're hoping for. And then what do you think is going to be the most exciting fight on the card?
Geez, that's a hard question, but I know what fights like I'm excited for. Like,
what are you excited for on this card?
Personally, I can't wait to watch Semelsberger and Medic.
Dude, that's the one I want.
Thompson and Pereira. Yeah, Thompson and Pereira. Love that fight. Honestly, all these fights are going to be pretty good. I'm excited for most of this card here.
Okay. Well, let's get going. I'll kick it off. Actually, before we kick it off, you guys subscribe, all that good stuff. Come join us on the Discord, Patreon. $25 a month, all the picks, all the goods. Join the newsletter. I've been sending a newsletter out every week for the last few weeks. And one thing I've been sending out is the Parlay Buster. And what was my Parlay Buster last week? Do you know what it was?
Yulia
Stoliarenko and Molly McMahon. And it was one of it was either the week before that or 2 weeks before that. It was one of the women's fights who was like a minus 300 as well. I said, watch it, you guys. This is the Parlay Buster. And it was as well.
Yasmin.
So, it was Yasmin. So, giving some betting tips, some odds, some stuff there. So sign up for the newsletter, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Link in the show notes. Miranda, Maverick, Priscila, Cachoeira.
Well, hold on. Wait, before we get into it, this is maybe exciting too. So I remember when I was first getting into betting in general, like MMA betting, getting serious about it. I remember watching John Kelly's videos for Contender Series, and I was like, man, this is just, it puts me ahead and it gives me such a good help so I can start my tape and kind of gives me a good basis. And I I think what we're going to do this year. So anybody that is, been a part of the Discord or is on the Discord now, you guys all know Big Bird or Pierce. He's been our little guy. He's not little, but he's been our guy, right? He went to PFL for us to represent us. He has his own channel. He does really well. He's been killing it this year with his bets, turning into a very good gambler. So I think what he and I are going to do, especially because our channel gets, good amount of views now. I think we're going to do some Contender Series videos. So if I can keep up with the workload, it's a lot. That's 40 fights, at least 40 fights. It's 10 weeks. So maybe 50 fights. But I think we're going to do Contender Series videos. So let us know if you guys, if that's something you guys would want to see. If there's no interest for it and it's going to get 500 views, then it's really not worth it for us. But if you guys are interested in that, then Pierce and I, or Big Bird and I, will break down the Contender Series fights.
Dude, I love it. The only thing I don't like about it is for you to ever refer to him as Pierce again. He is Big Bird, and that is how he'll only be referred to.
Well, at some point he's going to have to grow up. Big Bird's a crazy name for an adult.
Do any of us ever grow up? All right, we're going. I think this fight, I think Maverick's around a minus 300 on this one. And this is one where I think she should be. Priscila Cachoeira, that chin up, right hand just loaded, marching at you, swinging. She did hit, I think it was Shayna Dobson with that short little uppercut on her way in. Honestly, outside of a Hail Mary anything, I think Maverick stays on the outside, shoots, takes Priscila down again and again. And I think I actually like Maverick inside the distance here. I wouldn't be surprised. We saw Maverick submit, who was it a couple of fights ago? Sabina Mazo. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was something similar to that. Takes her down, beats her up a bit, takes her down, beats her up, and then eventually ends up finding probably a rear naked choke submission. So I think probably in the second round, I think Cachoeira is getting a little bit better. I don't even know better, a little bit more reserved and a little bit more economical and not throwing so big. But she eventually is going to swing big. Maverick's going to go under her. I think this is a great rebound fight for Maverick to come back from the loss. I think Maverick inside the distance, I don't really see it going Priscila's way kind of at all.
Yeah, I totally agree with you here. Man, I think that Priscila has gotten such a good reputation from her last few fights when really you watch the tape and it's not been that good. So, she caught Ariane Lipski early in that fight, chinned her, and then Ariane looks so good. If you run that fight back, how does that one end up going? I would still give it to Lipski every day of the week. Jiyeon Kim, most people thought that Priscila lost that fight. It was a very good fight, right? She dug deep in that fight, and it was honestly pretty impressive. But you also got Jiyeon Kim that doesn't grapple at all. It's pure striking. So that's a styles fight, right? She lost to Jillian Robertson, who was shooting from on her knees 10 feet away and still managed to get her down and submit her. Beat Gina Mazzani in a round where she lost the first round clearly, easily, and then Gina gasses out, right? And then we have Shayna Dobson. Need I say more? Before that, everything she'd shown on tape is horrible takedown defense, bad cardio, chin up, wide stance, slow. And I think just because of these recent performances, it doesn't make any of that stuff not true anymore. Maverick, I think, is probably one of the better girls that she's fought. She's got a really bad stylistic matchup for Priscila, right, where she's going to shoot takedowns, brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I know everyone's hoopla. First of all, belts don't mean a lot, guys. I'll be really honest with you guys. Belts don't mean almost anything. I think it's almost just a more of a time served kind of thing. But then again, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 12 years. I'm still a brown belt. I never thought I'd even get a brown belt. I thought I'd be purple for the rest of my career. It's not because I'm not getting better. It's just because I'm not putting on a gi. And say, Rashad Evans, like there's so many people that don't have belts. Even a guy that we train with, Ramon Salazar, he's a blue belt, and he'll tap most black belts we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's so good. So the picture of Priscila and her purple belt is floating around. Doesn't change her skills and doesn't change her skills for MMA. I don't think she's some wizard on the ground. I don't think she's better than what's seen. I think, honestly, I don't even give Priscila much of an advantage on the feet. I think it's actually fairly even. I've never been a fan of Miranda's robotic, boxy style, and I think I picked Jasmine in that last fight also, or either way, I said that would be the buster because I thought Jasmine moved a little bit better, a little bit longer, and would out grapple her, and I was right. But Priscilla is equally as boxy and awkward and has less grappling upside. So I definitely think that Miranda covers the price here, and I like that. I think inside the distance, probably by submission.
I like it. Next up, we've got Matthew Semelsberger and Uros Medic. And this is not only one of the fights I'm really looking for on a just a fan level. This is probably the hardest fight that I had on tape. Just how it goes down. Talk about it first. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, here's the shitty part for Uros. If this was a couple things. So one, at 170 as opposed to 155.
Big difference.
It's a big difference. And Semelsberger, he looks big. 2, it's at altitude, which sucks. And 3, it's on short notice. And those 3 factors are very, very, very hard to ignore in this fight, where actually from a stylistic matchup and actually skills matchup, I like Uros much better than Semelsberger. He's the rare guy from Alaska. Maybe him and Jared Cannonier are Alaskan legends, but he's actually good. Like his striking is actually phenomenal. He's a very, very, very good striker. Now, does he have holes in his game? Of course, right? His grappling we've seen as a whole, and the cardio we've never really seen him extended. But the dude's striking is clean. It's as good as it gets. And I think Semelsberger on the opposite side has been overrated in his striking. I don't think his striking is as processed, as calculated as people pretend that it is. I think he's a big, strong guy that hits pretty hard, and he's pretty game to fight. But I don't think his skills are on par with Uros, at least on the feet. Now, size could be a major factor. I think for Semelsberger to cover his big price as this big of a favorite, he's going to have to grapple. He's going to have to wear Uros down. I would love, if this wasn't at altitude, I would be sending a nice Uros bet in. But because this is at altitude, this is what worries me. I still am going to pick Uros in this matchup. Everybody else in the world on Semelsberger here. The size, the short notice, and the altitude all suck. So I could see a late finish from Semelsberger, but honestly, skill for skill, I really like Uros, and I think the guy could be the truth if he gets the better, some good matchups. But I'm going to go Uros in this one.
Okay, so for what it's worth, Salt Lake isn't altitude. It's not like pure altitude. I think it's Salt Lake City because we were up there for a fight recently. I think it's about 4,200 feet. Versus like Denver, which is 5,200 feet. So you definitely do get some altitude, but not
as bad.
You go to Denver or Mexico City or even Flagstaff, Arizona is at like 7,200 feet. It is brutal. Salt Lake, I thought I'm in bad shape. And when I was up there, I didn't notice the cardio that much at all. So I don't think that's going to be too big of a factor.
We had thought that was going to be a way bigger thing than it was. I remember that last Salt Lake card, right? Lou Saldana was fighting, and I thought the dude was going to have cardiac arrest in the first round. He fought 3 rounds easy. He looked great.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal, which I thought it was going to be a big deal as well, but it wasn't. I agree with everything that you said. I do like Semelsberger's striking. The issue with Semelsberger's striking is he's good when people are staying in the pocket and firing with him. That's when he's best. He's not good stylistically against point fighters. And we saw that actually against Alex Morono, who is not a great technical striker, but was just kind of in and out a little bit. And he wasn't just there plotting forward. When you're there just plotting forward, Semelsberger knows what to do. When you're moving away from him, that's when he starts to have some trouble, which Uros Medic is going to stick his jab and move. So that's going to cause some issues. The power upside goes to Semelsberger times a million. And honestly, I think the meanness, just dog it out fight, I think goes to Semelsberger a little bit as well. But I lean Semelsberger on this because of the takedowns. We saw in the Jake Matthews fight. First of all, his power is just great. I mean, he was rocking Jake Matthews like crazy. But when Matthews would press him a little bit too much, he would just snatch that lead leg single and sit him down. And Matthews' wrestling is decent. His grappling is decent. And Semelsberger was able to mix that up. I think with the size and the wrestling and the cardio, I think I lean Semelsberger here. if Uros was a little bit bigger and had just a little bit better wrestling, I would go him. But I think I lean Semelsberger on this one.
Yeah, I totally see it. All those factors, just logic tells me that it's going to be Semelsberger here. But I just have I love Uros Medic for some reason.
Really? Yeah. He's solid, clean striker. Next up, we've got CJ Vergara and Vinicius Salvador. Do you still hate Vergara?
Um,
you every Vergara fight, he's horrible. He sucks. He's a nothing burger. Die. Like, die, Vergara.
I've given him his credit now. The dude is a grinder. He's not great at anything, but he's okay at everything. He's just there, doesn't die. Like, that's good.
All right. He's fighting Vinicius Salvador, who's wild and weird and lanky and gangly and does all this stuff. I think, man, I mean, we saw Salvador with the Altamirano fight where he would just get taken down and he would stay on his back. And we thought he was going to get back up, and he just didn't. And I think it was a really close fight. And I think there was, I think it was a second or third round where he's winning the round, got taken down with like a minute left, and all he had to do was get one stand up to win the round, and he didn't do it. He just is like there. He's just bad fight IQ. Man, and then Vergara on the other side, like you said, he looks good. He looks good everywhere. But man, does he get hurt? Like, he has a punchable face. And when he gets hit, he gets rocked, and he recovers well because he has that cardio. He does it well. I mean, I think Vergara here. I think I really like Vergara here. But man, that just hitability of him is scary, especially against a guy like Vinicius, who's going to throw flying knees. But honestly, though, Vergara has gotten through Odie Osborne. He got through Clayton. Who did he fight last that put him in a lot of danger? Lacerda. He beat
Jacob
Bruno
Silva,
Correa.
Never Die, Fury FC.
Fury FC. I mean, Vergara's a little small, but he does all the right stuff. He has the cardio, and he has the wrestling and the fight IQ. Outside of getting chinned and just not being able to recover, I think this is a Vergara fight.
Did he delete some pictures on his Instagram? That is going to really piss me off.
Who, Vergara?
Because every time he fights, I post a picture of him in the car where he's like, it's hilarious. I love that picture. It's my favorite picture.
Who do you got
I'm with
here?
you, man. We got catfished by Vinicius. His striking still looks pretty clean. Like, he does some weird, crazy stuff. He does manage range pretty well, and he snipes from the outside. He is pretty clean striker. But that being said, he gets hit a lot too. His hands down style. I'll never forget Chael Sonnen always saying, like, yeah, the hands down style is great, but at some point you always got to pay the piper when you fight like that. And just like the guy that he looks up to, Anderson Silva, that's who he was talking about, and he paid the piper with Chris Weidman, right? It's always going to come. Yeah, honestly, the grappling here is like the biggest thing. And if this were just standing just on the feet, I think this is a much, much closer fight. But with the amount of damage that Vinicius takes, and then his willingness just to lay on his back, and we've seen Vergara's jiu-jitsu is not the worst ever. He hung with Tyra for a little while. He's hung with a lot of guys. He got put in heel hooks. He shows awareness. He knows how to escape. So, they can talk about Vinicius black belt all they want. Again, like, is he a legit black belt? I don't know. He doesn't offer anything on the ground that really scares me, right? Victor Altamirano was chilling on top. Honestly, I like CJ Vergara's style a lot better against Vinicius than I did Altamirano. Altamirano is awkward, doesn't have great top control, kind of bad wrestling, whereas Vergara is going to press. He's going to hit him. He's going to press. He's going to keep a high guard. He's going to throw off breaks. Like, I think this is a great spot for Vergara to get on top, beat him up, and yeah, I got CJ.
All right. Next up, Jake Matthews, Darius Flowers.
Is this me on this one?
This is you.
Yeah. Okay. This fight is interesting because who is Darrius really? Who is he actually? And we don't really know, right? His boxing record is it's like a bare knuckle can kind of record. Like, that's the guys that they bring in to lose to the local talent as far as his boxing record, right? He's always been kind of shitty gatekeeper MMA fighter, and then he's had this resurgence. Like he knocked out Tim Hiley. The other dude dislocated his shoulder. So how good is he really? Has he just gone leaps and bounds above where he used to be, or is he the same guy as before? And now he's fighting Jake Matthews, who's been in the UFC longer than I've been alive, and still is my age somehow. And Jake Matthews, he does everything well. Like there's nothing he doesn't do well. He defends takedowns well. He can stand up well. His jiu-jitsu is good. His boxing is good. He does so many things well. The one thing that we have to worry about is that big uppercut, that athleticism. And that's the part that I worry about. If this was Jake Matthews against Andre Fialho, this is Jake Matthews is wiping the floor with this dude. It's not even a close fight. And then you watch him in that Semelsberger fight, and he didn't look like the same guy. Honestly, the most recent comparison I could make is Bruna Brazil, right? Bruna Brazil on Contender Series, bouncing around, moving. She looks clean. She looks engaged. And then she fights Denise Gomez, and she stands there wide-eyed and just keep eating shots. And that's how Jake Matthews looked to me in those back-to-back fights. One fight, he's seeing things. He's moving well against a huge puncher in Fialho. And then the next fight, he's just, he's dying with every punch. So, man, I think I still have to side on the side of experience and honestly just technical prowess and ability in Jake Matthews. But at the same time, if he just stands there and he looks disinterested, I can see a big nuke from Darius Flowers too, right? He's willing to go in there and swing. But honestly, outside of a first round knockout, I think this is Jake Matthews' fight. Veteran savvy, takedowns, just a complete MMA game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even know what else you could say. The thing with Darius Flowers is I've watched a little bit of film on him, but who is he? We don't really know how he competes against top-level guys, but man, he's athletic, and he hits hard, and he swings hard. And we saw him, like you said, with Semelsberger, where that gives him an issue, but he's Jake Matthews. He's pretty freaking good everywhere. You've got to assume that he's going to grind it out. And honestly, if he doesn't beat Darius Flowers, that's a wrap. Like he'll still get a couple more.
Gone.
Yeah, he'll get a couple more fights in the UFC, but that's basically the end of his career. So I assume that Matthews wins because he is, he's been there forever. What is he, 18-6? He's a good fighter. So he should win this. I think we're probably putting a little bit too much into that Semelsberger fight. Maybe he just got rocked early and just, that'll do stuff to you. You have a bad performance. You have a bad night. Who knows? He did, I see on his Instagram, recently convert to Islam, which who did I say? Oh, Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee converted to Islam, and that didn't work out for him. So I think if you're born Islam, great. Right now, the conversion is 0-1.
You know what was so funny about that too is that was like part that got cut off, and you did like a 15-minute thing about how converting to Islam was going to be so good for Kevin Lee and how he was going to win because he converted. And then we had to cut that part out, and I was like, give us the short version of that. And then he gets choked out in 12 seconds or whatever.
I'm glad it had to get cut out. So, I think Matthews wins this, honestly, probably within the distance. I think this is, if it goes after one round, I think Matthews' veteranness is going to put the heat on and put a beating on Flowers. So I probably won't go the distance. But all right, we've got Roman Kopylov next and Claudio Ribeiro. Man, Ribeiro, big hooks, chin up. Everything he throws is almost rocking backwards. It's like he doesn't have, even if he's moving forward, swinging something, it's like he pulls himself backwards as he's swinging. So the weirdest punches ever, the way that he throws. But man, does he throw heavy and he throws hard. Even his style, we talk about that style where people, he swings and he slows down, but for his style, it works for him. He kind of will catch his breath a little bit and swing and go. We saw him doing well against Abdul Razak Al Hassan until Al Hassan went full Al Hassan. He murdered Joseph Holmes. That was just comedy hour, with that. But then on the other side, you have Kopylov, who's now training in Dagestan. And honestly, I think we've seen all we need to see with him fighting Puna, who fights very similar to Claudio Ribeiro, swinging big punches, marching you down with that big power. in it. Except, of course, Puna is, I think, a little bit more technical and will mix in his wrestling. But he's a big,
But also
strong guy
has his arms are half the size.
Yes, exactly. But man, I think Kopylov looked really good. His wrestling is there. I think his jab. I mean, he has that jab that just snipes and snipes and snipes. It's fast. He's always at range. I think Ribeiro needs a big knockout to win this, and I don't know that he's going to knock Kopylov out. I think he's going to look really good round one, and then Kopylov's jab is just going to take over, and I think Kopylov's going to win the next 2 rounds with it.
Yeah, Kopylov's a good striker. I don't know why myself included and everybody were so high on Puna over Kopylov. Looking back on it, that's got to be one of the worst bets that I've made because we've seen those characteristics from Puna before. So watching this, I didn't know what to think of it because you watch Kopylov and Kopylov is good. The way that he's feinting, he's moving, the way that he throws liver kicks is it's so bizarre how he throws liver kicks. You're like, why doesn't everybody do that? Because it's like right there and he just blasts a liver kick and doesn't care. And it seems like he catches it almost every single time. And it wasn't just against Puna, but he's done it in a few fights. The dude has a really good understanding of striking. He knows what strikes are available to him. Southpaw, orthodox. He's clean. The other thing too is, he's a southpaw. So what I admire about Kopylov is he knows how to fight other southpaws. And then southpaws usually always have the advantage because they're always fighting orthodox fighters, right? Where it's harder from an orthodox to fight a southpaw, yada, yada. Man, he good takedown defense, good volume, good speed, good wherewithal. His wrestling offensively is getting better. I give him almost every check mark in this fight. And we hated the Ribeiro film, especially pre-UFC. But watching the way that he murdered Joseph Holmes, and I know it's Joseph Holmes, so like I'm not saying he's a world beater, but just for one grown man to just beat another grown man that also has a UFC contract in the way that he did, it's just kind of crazy to me. He just manhandled him like so badly. I had to check to make sure that the weight classes were the same. Because I'm thinking Ribeiro's like a 205 or something, or he's a heavyweight. Like he looks huge, he looks long, he swings with power. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's, the part that I worry about is Ribeiro landing that knockout, right? Because he's awkward, because he throws from weird angles, he's leaning back and throwing, and it's not conventional like Kopylov's used to, right? Just like you said, Puna's super clean, everything's tight, it's technical. That is it's easy to get a read on. But now Kopylov, he's throwing the jab, and then this guy's leaning back so he thinks he can catch him with a 2, and then he gets hit with a hook. Like, where the hell did that come from? And that's kind of what I worry about is just the unorthodox style.
I mean, of course it's a weird style, so anything can happen, but Kopylov does such a good job with pulling people into his fight that he draws you in, he gets you to swing and miss, and then he's countering after the miss. I don't think Kopylov has to go first. I don't think he's going to have to go first and fire and get those big punch. Kopylov doesn't have to go into the fire to get Ribeiro. Ribeiro is going to go into the fire for him. So I think Kopylov is going to use that jab and his in and out movement to draw him in, get him to swing and miss, and then he's going to be doing the countering after Ribeiro misses for the most part. And I think stylistically for Ribeiro to win this fight, he needs to be the one pressing with the volume and getting in the face of Kopylov. But I don't know how he does that without swinging and missing and then finding that jab, because he doesn't use a jab. He doesn't use head movement. He just goes in there guns blazing. And I think Kopylov's footwork is just going to be way too much for that. I think he needs a firefight, but I don't think he's going to get it. So then how does he out-slick Kopylov?
Yeah. This was funny because Ribeiro was the one that I was like, oh, this is the guy I saw in Contender Series. And I was going to go put like 10,000 on him when he fought Abdul Razak. And then I looked at him, I'm like, wait. This is not the guy that I was thinking of. Victor Petrino was who I was thinking of, but I thought it was Claudio Ribeiro. And then I was like, wait a minute. Razak's the one I'm going to bet on. So I ended up betting on Razak instead. But yeah, I got Kopylov here.
When I was looking at this tape, I was like, oh, I really like Claudio Ribeiro, right? Like I really like him. And it wasn't him. It was, I think it might've been Petrino, might've been somebody else.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but in my head, I was like, oh yeah, I love this guy. And then I watched the film. I was like, wait, no, I don't.
Not the one. No, not the one.
he is good. He is tough. He does hit hard. All that stuff is great. So I don't think he's bad. I just was thinking that he was somebody else. All right, man. Next up, we got Black Beast. Black Beast is fighting Marcos Rogerio de Lima. You're up. Kill it.
Okay, yeah, this is an interesting one to me, and this is one personally I'm not going to probably touch too much. I know a lot of people on Marcos, and honestly, I think there's really good reason. I've never been on the Black Beast train, the Derrick Lewis train, ever have I been on it. And it honestly, every time he fights, is really amazing to me how many people are. Everybody thinks he can win every single fight, and I've just never understood how you can constantly back somebody who's going to lose every minute of every fight, and you just have to bank on that one knockout, right? Doesn't have the best cardio, is not, super skilled. Like, there's just nothing in his favor, and you're going to keep backing him because he's going to land that one shot, and he has plenty of times. So,
Curtis
I could
Blades.
I look like an idiot for that, but especially recently, as he's gotten older, as he's gotten money, as a lot of these things have changed, like, he really does look like he's just there for a paycheck. I can tell you his pay is going to be significantly higher than De Lima's paycheck in this fight. I picked against De Lima in the last fight due to cardio, right? I thought Salsa Boy was going to just out cardio him, jab him up, put volume in his face. And honestly, Marcos fought a great fight. He fought 3 hard rounds, mixed in takedowns well, calf kicks. I don't see much of a difference here. Rogerio knows how to stay safe. He knows how to fight a composed fight. I think good game planning, low kicks, takedowns. I think that this is his fight to lose. Of course you have that nuclear option, but I like De Lima here.
So admittedly, I'm always on the Black Beast train. And sometimes it's worked out, sometimes it hasn't, whatever. But I think people are a little hard on him as of recent, including you. I agree with the last couple of fights. He looks... Well, the Pavlich fight, man, Sergey he's just that good. The Spivak fight, he did not look great there, but Spivak has been looking better and better. The one I'm really talking about is Tai Tuivasa. I thought Derrick looked really good in that fight, literally until he got caught right at the end, the last 30 seconds. He was in there swinging hard, got the takedown, going balls out, tried to win that fight. Then even it goes through round 1. He didn't look death gassed going into round 2 either. Like, he looked fine cardio wise. And then he just got clipped. And I don't think he knew what planet he was on. And then he just got sent to the moon. But I don't think he quit fighting. I don't think he looked bad, in that fight. I'm with you though. There's so much to not like about Derrick Lewis. But then he has the nuclear option. But the other thing is he actually has the wrestling option. He's out wrestling people now. He's getting inside trips. He's taking people down. He's using his weight and pushing them up against the fence. And I actually think this fight goes 2 ways. Either Rogerio de Lima via leg kicks in some capacity, whether he actually injures a leg or whether he gets a leg, gets him on one foot and beats him up. Or I think the wrestling of Derrick Lewis is actually going to be the factor here. I think he's going to get a takedown, and De Lima does a really good job of getting back up. But man, you have 350-pound Derrick Lewis on you, regardless of what the scale says, and he's just going to be jackhammering fists as you're coming up. So I don't even have a read on this. I'll pick Lewis just to pick Lewis. I'm really at a 50-50 split between the wrestling of Lewis and the low kicks of De Lima. They're both old, and I don't think De Lima has the speed or the chin that Tuivasa or Sergey Pavlovich or Spivak have either. So I think this is a good spot for Derrick Lewis to get possibly his last win in the UFC if he does beat Rogerio. But yeah, I'll kind of lean that way.
I totally agree with everything that you said too. And honestly, if you told me that Derrick would go out and wrestle, I would definitely be on Derrick. I don't think his cardio is amazing, especially lately, but it's probably better than Marcos. Marcos just impressed me that he was able to do that to Waldo Cortez, because Waldo's known for his cardio, known for his volume, known for his jab, known for so many of those things. And honestly, he moves really well too. He's really athletic. That was something I thought would cause him a lot of issues, and it didn't in that fight. So I can't imagine a 40-year-old Derrick Lewis. It's going to be too much different. But you're right. The power is going to be a little different. And if he would wrestle, I think that would change some things.
And
That's why I don't love
Rogerio,
this fight.
yeah, Rogerio slows down with the wrestling. He's fine standing. You start wrestling a little bit, and he significantly slows down. And the other thing Lewis does that's going to take away from that calf kick quite a bit is he will switch southpaw, and he will throw that left high kick. And that alone is going to mess with the ability right there. But then also, he will eat a calf kick to throw that big overhand every once in a while too. So, if he catches Rogerio once with that, does he keep throwing it? I think it's a really close fight, but I, kind of lean Black Beast here on that one.
I can see it.
Right,
I almost want to change, but I'll keep it.
We've got Trevin Giles, Gabriel Bonfim. Man, Bonfim is good. He does everything well. The only thing I don't like about Bonfim is his chin. Yep, his chin. His chin comes up and he gets square. And honestly, Giles is actually really good everywhere. He's got a good jab. He's got good cardio. He moves well. His jiu-jitsu is good. He's fluid. He just somehow manages to lose these fights. And I do like Bonfim. There's something about him where I'm not 100% sold yet. And I thought even, was it Lazez last time that kind of, in those firefights, man, that chin coming up, I feel like he's going to get clipped. And I just don't think Giles is the guy to do it. I think Giles is very good. I think everything he does, I think is probably as good, if not better than Bonfim on a technical level. And I think Bonfim's just youngness and chin and hate and just scrappiness is going to win. And it kind of reminds me of like a Michael Morales, where you see him just losing and not looking great, and not losing, but like you see him just looking very pedestrian, getting hit. Then you see him get hurt. A sense of urgency comes on and he just murders people. That's kind of Bonfim with me right now is I'm not wowed by him, but I think, man, I just Giles, and he's 16-4. So it's not like this guy is just losing all of these fights. But if you look at his last two wins, Louis Cosi and Preston Parsons. Preston Parsons had him in danger quite a bit and had him hurt, and he has these short little arms, and he's a wrestler. Like, man, if he looked better against Parsons, I would be like, man, here's the upset, guys. He was looking great against Dreykus until he wasn't. He was looking great against Michael Morales until he wasn't. I think his best win was Roman Dolidze, where Dolidze was just a full ass hat before. Dolidze kind of leveled up and got a lot better, maybe because of that fight. But I want to fade Bonfim at some point, just because there are little things that I'm not huge on, but I don't think it's against Giles. I think Bonfim wins this.
Yeah, I don't need to do much more breakdown than that. I agreed with you that chin is a problem, and there's a few things that I see as a problem. And you couldn't have said it better. It's just I don't think Giles is the guy. And man, you just like took the words out of my mouth, because I would have said Giles is just good everywhere. I love Giles. If honestly, it comes down to this: if he didn't get rocked by Preston Parsons the way that he did in the first round of that fight, because he got rocked, I think 2 or 3 times. That first one was so alarming because it wasn't a huge punch. Like you said, it's by a wrestler. It's a guy who doesn't throw as hard as Bonfim. And the way that he got rocked and just went down was so insane to me. I just went, man, 15 minutes is a long time for him to not get chinned like that again from Bonfim. Man, if that didn't happen, I'd probably be talking about a Giles bet here. A jab and move kind of Giles bet. But because of that, yeah, I have to go Bonfim. Fight doesn't go, I think is almost a guarantee. Like, yeah, I got Bonfim. Man, bummer, Trevin.
Right? If he just had a little bit of a better chin. And the last month or two, we've been talking about, because we had some success talking about, the guys with the chin, you expect them to get chinned, and then they don't get chinned. I feel like the last month, all of those chins have been tested. You got the Roberts last week. You've got just a couple other guys who you're like, man, they're so good. If they can just not get chinned, they win this. And then they just get chinned. Like, it's just, So, I mean, that is such a liability, that chin. And for as good as Giles is, he's got a button there. Next up, Michael Chiesa, Kevin Holland. You're up.
Okay, well, this one's a weird fight because where is either of these guys really? You know, every Kevin Holland fight we always talk, we don't know where he is, what he's doing, how serious he's going to take it. The problem with Kevin Holland is the guy is so freaking talented, and we never know where his motivation level is. And he's completely willing to just lose a fight just for fanfare because he knows he's going to fight again and he knows he's talented. So he'll be okay losing a fight. Whereas most other fighters on the planet Earth, like, this is everything for me. I have to win this fight, right? Talking shit to people when you're down 4 rounds is crazy. That's not what fighters do. And Chiesa, on the other side of things, you know, he's been in a lot more of a coaching role, ESPN role. He's been doing a lot of stuff. And, you know, I don't doubt that he takes training seriously. Of course he does. Like, he's a professional. He's an ultra vet in the game. On paper, this seems like a weird fight, right? You have a guy whose only losses are really being held down a lot versus a guy that's going to hold him down a lot. But then you have the youth, the speed, the striking, everything else goes on the side of the other guy. I don't know. I heard some talk, maybe Holland might be injured, something like that. But honestly, I think this is probably a retirement fight for Chiesa. I think he's going to move full time into a role as a coach and as an analyst. I like a lot of the stuff that Kevin Holland does on the bottom. People are so weird with the jiu-jitsu stuff. Like, people just don't have an eye for jiu-jitsu. They think everything's accolades, or it's not. It's just submissions. It's like, it can be both. It can be both. Like, Gilbert Burns, I think, has excellent jiu-jitsu, even though he doesn't have a lot of submissions. And Charles Oliveira, he's got good jiu-jitsu, but I don't think it's the best of all time, even though he has 1 million, right?
He has good submissions, not necessarily good jiu-jitsu. And there's a very big difference in those two things.
Yeah, exactly. I think Kevin Holland is probably more like Charles Oliveira. He's got good submissions and he's got a very active guard, and he's game and willing to fight. I like Kevin Holland here on youth, on speed, on honestly, the striking, the speed, being active off his back, and just doing enough to win this here. So give me Kevin Holland. You're the Kevin Holland whisperer. You know right or wrong.
Like, the thing with Kevin Holland is his takedown defense has always been bad. And you know, Chiesa's going to try and take him down. Has looked, he's not going against wrestlers yet.
When he went against Hamzat, it looked pretty decent.
For half a second. Chiesa is relentless with it. The thing that gets me about this is Kevin Holland, you said it, he doesn't have a sense of urgency. And he's just there to do whatever he's going to do. And the best example that I can give is, I think fighting freaks Michael Chiesa out. And I mean, everyone's nervous when you're fighting, but Chiesa a lot of times is like kill or be killed. Like, he wants to go balls out. We saw that in the Vicente Luque fight, where he was there and grabbing him, threw him down, and was ready, and then got submitted 2 seconds later. And you know, who was it right before? Oh, the Sean Brady fight. Brady is just relentless with his pressure and grappling, but he's not hurting Chiesa. And I think if he was like hurting Chiesa, I think he would have gotten him out of there. Kevin Holland in the grappling department, I don't know that he has a sense of urgency. And I think Chiesa has quit in him if you go in there and hurt him and grab something and grab it and go. But Holland getting pushed against the fence and taken down and calm, like, that's comforting for Chiesa. If Holland went in there and just spazzed like a wild person, I think Chiesa would panic. So I wonder, will Chiesa grab a hold of Holland because Holland is just so nonchalant about so much, and then just be able to hang on him for 15 minutes? I know the smart everything says Holland. I'm with you. The speed, the technique, the submissions. I think Chiesa is going to get him down at some point. I think he's going to have him in a submission at some point. I think a lot of that stuff, I think Holland is going to defend. That said, I keep getting flashbacks of who's the Oliveira, Cowboy Oliveira, on his back at the end of round 1 with a full rear naked choke sunk in, and then the bell rung. Man, Chiesa's a much better wrestler. And I think Oliveira dropped him and then jumped on that. I think I got to go back and remind, see that. But, if Cowboy Oliveira has your back with a fully sunk rear naked choke, Chiesa is going to finish a fully sunk rear naked choke. I think Holland is a smart play here. This is honestly, I think, could be the parlay buster of the week for me. Is Holland's a smart money. He does everything right. I think his sense of urgency could allow Chiesa to just hang on him and have a very uneventful fight where he ends up winning a push takedown fast for nothing more than Holland didn't have a sense of urgency. His lack of sense of urgency. That's the risk we take
when you gamble on Kevin Holland. Even in the Wonder Boy fight, piss you off because he would take him down and then let him right back up. And it's like just the fight IQ things and the sense of urgency and just knowing how to just not being an idiot, honestly.
Yeah. If he didn't allow Thompson to get back up 2 times, he might have won that fight. Who knows? We don't know how that would have gone. But just if it's the right matchup for Holland, it doesn't matter. But Holland is a guy who's going to fight however Holland wants to fight whenever he wants. And he's not a guy who's going to game plan and do specific things and do something like follow Stephen Wonderboy Thompson to the ground when he's just lying there for you to steal a round out of. So if you're not going to do that, then what makes me think that you're going to have a sense of urgency to get off the cage with Chiesa? I think you're going to be sitting there looking at Chiesa going, oh, you're not hurting me, boy. You're just sitting there. Oh, we're just hanging on. And 5 minutes is up and he stole the round with that happening. I mean, I could also see Holland just starching Chiesa right off the bat. But because of that, I think that could be the parlay buster of the week.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right. Tony Ferg, Bobby Green. Am I up? I'm up. This, like I said, this is going to be the flop of the week, I think, in terms of excitement. I think there's going to be a lot of shadow boxing going on. Bobby Green is fast. Bobby Green is good. But everyone's talking about Tony Ferguson. He's just done. He's done. He's done. And I was looking at his record. I'm like, the dude's done. He's done. He's done. He had some moments against Diaz early. He didn't get finished until round 4. Michael Chandler, he hurt Chandler a couple times, and then you figure Benny Darrius and Charles Oliveira both just took him down and held him and kind of out-grappled him. Neither of them submitted him. We know how good their stuff is. And Gaethje took him to round 5 to finish him. So I think Ferguson's best days are far behind him, but I don't think he's 100% just like shot goods yet. I actually think, if anything, I speak for you a little bit on this. I think we're always a little high on Bobby Green. I think we always like him. We're always big fans of his. That Jared Gordon fight, I thought he was losing. And I think that headbutt was a gift to him on a no contest because I thought Gordon was kind of picking him apart. And I think Gordon was on his way to a kind of a 3-round victory right there. I think this is going to be a fight that goes the distance. And it sounds insane, but I'm almost leaning Ferguson here just out of weirdness. And I think there's going to be so much not happening where everybody tries to press Bobby Green and Bobby Green does Bobby Green. I think Ferguson is going to be as weird as Bobby Green. And then it comes down to a 3-round kind of pretty close fight where not a lot happened. And then you just got to go, what significant stuff did we see? I think Bobby Green is the speed side here. I think he's the athleticism side by far, but Tony Ferguson has a huge reach. And Bobby Green, for as well as he rolls and does stuff, people crash into him quite a bit. There's a lot of like crashing movements where people grab or clinch and hang. And I think if that happens with Ferguson, I think an elbow is going to come and cut Bobby Green or, end up rocking him or winning some areas, clinching a bit. I'm going to go Tony Ferguson with the upset here.
Man, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I wish I could see it. I don't see it. I think much like Derek Lewis, I've always been, maybe it's because I haven't been betting for 10 years, so I didn't watch a lot of early Tony Ferguson, and I wasn't a huge Tony Ferguson fan. And I just kind of saw him for what he actually was. Like, his boxing's never been that good. His jiu-jitsu's okay, but it's not great. His wrestling's fine, but he's just tougher and has better cardio than everybody else. And that's kind of what he's always been. Yeah, I think fight goes the distance is a great play here with both these guys, right? Bobby doesn't put it in tough. Tony's the toughest guy ever, and he doesn't really have KO power. I think him dropping Chandler is a weird outlier. He was definitely doing well in the fight for sure. A lot better than anybody expected. However, Chandler's kind of just big bombs. He's big bombs in and out, not a lot of setup. It's like there's not a lot of rhyme or reason, and that kind of style is seemingly easier and easier to counter, right? Especially than a Bobby Green, who's a counter puncher, and it's a lot different methods. Honestly, I think that Tony is shot. I mean, he's just so slow and so old. The way that he's turning his back, and he struggles with volume. That's what he struggled with Nate, was the volume. And when Bobby gets going, Bobby puts volume out there. 2, 3, 4 punches, more athletic, faster. I like Bobby in the spot. Now, I'm with you. I think the line is wide. I could definitely see this being a closer fight than what's listed here. So I'm not saying this is like a lock and whatever, parlay everything tied to this. I think Bobby's the side. I think the line has moved a ton from where it was. Now, this is other thing too, guys. Whenever DraftKings makes a line, just slam it. Do your research and slam it right away, because DraftKings has no idea what they're doing with anything. Thank God. That's why I got this house and my cars and everything else, because DraftKings has no clue. But I think Bobby gets the win here. I think the line is a little bit wide. I think the fight goes the distance, but give me Bobby Green.
I think it's going to be a boring fight with actually a lot of clinching, not a great, exciting fight. I think they're
Honestly,
going to be shadowboxing.
Tony's value here for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of like shadowboxing on the outside of not happening, and then clinching on the inside. And then it's just, does Bobby get more strikes off versus Tony's clinch time?
All right. Well, I guess it's to be seen on Saturday. We'll find out.
Man, next up we got Stephen Thompson, Michel Pereira. What do you got?
Can't believe this line is as close as it is.
It's
man,
insane.
Dorino, yeah, Gilbert Burns, Dorino, man, the guy can wrestle. He's a complete, very good MMA fighter. Not only can he wrestle, but we've talked about this a lot. He's got the amazing jiu-jitsu control, right? He's a Nogi black belt world champ. Like, he's got control on top too. Man, Pereira's not the same guy. And, I thought that Holland was going to get Wonder Boy out of there. I thought he's just too old. He's too slow. The younger, faster, more athletic, more powerful guy is going to do it. I've never been so impressed in my life. That was one of the most insane beatdowns that I've seen from such an old guy to a guy that we thought is, the next guy. Man, I know you said the altitude didn't affect you that much, but this dude gets gassed out at sea level, let alone any sort of altitude. And then I saw somebody talking about how Pereira's been running so much and training and running. Does running help with cardio? Yes, 100% it does. But is it fighting? No, it's not, right? There's so many guys that run forever and ever and ever and still get tired in one round because of how they fight, right? Everything is with aggression. Your muscles are pumped up. You just don't know how to conserve your energy and put together 15 minutes. Man, Wonder Boy doesn't stop. Wonder Boy puts volume. Wonder Boy defends most takedowns. I know he's old and his time is coming soon, I'm sure. But at this price, like I have to go with Wonder Boy. I think he's just so much better and puts together a more complete 15 minutes. And the cardio, honestly, the cardio I think is a massive, massive thing here. So give me Wonder Boy.
Man, Wonder Boy's speed is phenomenal. Still at 40. Speed is one of the first things that goes. I'm 41 now, and this speed, I have no speed anymore. I'm like, the snails are passing me in the freaking fast lane over here. And it just went, and he just is so fast in his timing and his eyes. He has such good rhythm. Both these guys fight very similar in the way that, and I'm not comparing the skill set, but, kind of light on their feet, in and out. Pereira's kind of a karate-ish stance as well, but he's big, explosive movements. And big, explosive movements are going to catch a lot of people off guard, but not Wonder Boy. He's going to see those big, explosive movements from Brazil and just move right out of the way. And, the only way that I see him losing any moments of this fight really are Pereira catches a kick, gets kind of what happened with Holland, where Wonder Boy kicked himself off balance a couple of times, ended up on his back, and Pereira just jumps on him and is just kind of there. And he is big. Like when Hunter Azure fought his UFC debut up in Vancouver, Pereira fought Tristan Connolly, and Connolly got the upset. It's the craziest upset. It was wild.
Still to this day, it's pretty insane.
Connolly's a 55er who took that fight on 5 days' notice. But Michel was in the sauna for like 3 days. That dude, every time we went in the sauna for days, he was in there just drying himself out because he was just so big. And you saw the performance. He went full send and then died. Yeah, like you said, at any amount of elevation isn't going to help him. He's going to look decent in round 1, and then round 2 and 3 come along, and Wonder Boy is just going to be like a pinball, just every which way you can. So I like Wonder Boy here. I think I like the over on this as well. I think it's probably going to go 3 rounds as well. But I like. I don't know though.
He was going life or death with Nico Price.
Yeah. But I think stylistically, I think Wonder Boy is going to be a little bit more reserved with just the size of him. And I think he's going to pick him apart unless he hurts him, or if he sees that he's really gassed, he might really start trying to send it.
Or is he too nice to finish the fight?
No, he may actually offer him some help up if he does drop him. Like he's nicest guy ever. Let's move on here because we got a couple more to go. Jan Blachowicz, Alex Pereira. This is a tough one for me because, like, I like Jan on everything he stands for. And if you look at him, he's good everywhere. He's old. He's just a good, tough guy. You got to like him. And there's just something unspectacular about Jan to me that has always been there. And he beats when he beat Dominic Reyes was, just going up and up and up and up and up. And then Jan just beat the brakes off of him. Then he beat Izzy. He had that draw with Ankalaev where he's losing these rounds and then he just comes back and he's just calf kicking. Like Alexander Rakic took him down and he throws Rakic in a triangle. And of course he got out, but he just does all of the right stuff. And I'm going like how? It doesn't look great. And then you have Pereira on the other side, who we just all love. Everyone loves. I don't think there's a fighter or any fan, anybody that's like, oh, I hate Pereira. I don't like Pereira. I don't like watching Pereira. Nothing bad about Pereira. I mean, the guy buys Glover a motorcycle, and him and Glover are wrestling around in waterfalls now in Brazil, which is a little strange, but hey, to each their own. So I am so torn on this one. I think I kind of lean Jan on this one by just not getting chinned. I think if it goes to a decision, Jan will win the clinch fest and he will win the kind of their fest and maybe even get a takedown. And literally as I'm saying this, I'm like, no, Pereira's going to left hook him. Like it just... the left hook and that knee that comes up are just scary. I really am torn on this one. Everything in my head says Pereira wins this. Like he's just the younger, better fighter. Him going up in weight class, I think, is going to help him not be as drained. And then Jan is just always an overachiever to me, who I'm always betting against, and he always ends up winning. What's your thought on this?
This is one of those fights that somebody's going to win and everyone's going to hop on Twitter and be like, I fucking told you guys so.
Yeah.
It's just like, you don't know. I really wanted to launch a big Pereira bet. I was like, man, he's just so much more dynamic. I know he's old, but he is younger. I was just like, the striking is going to be a big deal. And then I went back and watched the film, and I'm watching Pereira. The amount of punches that Pereira eats is actually insane. Like Bruno Silva could have won that fight. I know Bruno got brutalized, but he was taking him down. He was cage pushing him. He hit Alex so many freaking times. Everybody has hit Alex so many freaking times. I'll be honest. I think this line is a lot closer, obviously because of Izzy, but I think Izzy's style is a lot better for Alex. Because Izzy's going to play on the outside and play at range, it's a lot better for Alex. He can launch leg kicks with no, it's fine with him, right? He'll trade one or two because he hits so hard. He's willing to do that. A guy like Jan that just hits so hard, right? He keeps those tight punches. Like we talked about it, we just mentioned earlier, guys who fight with their hands down have to pay the piper eventually. And he was just knocked out 4 months ago, just flatlined cold by Izzy, who has taken every single other person to decision. Right now he's moving up in weight. All he did was lose his abs. He doesn't have as much of a weight cut, but Jan is a big, thick 205er who hits hard, Polish power, right?
And he checks kicks. He checks kicks. He checks middle kicks. He checks low kicks. His hands are high and he blocks correctly.
He wasn't losing like badly on the feet with Izzy either. He had a lot of really good moments. So it's not like he's completely outmatched on the feet. And, we've talked about this a lot. Alex Pereira is not the most beautiful, clean kickboxer, if we're being really honest. His hands are low. He does wide left hooks. Like, not a lot of the stuff he does is technical. He's just really powerful, and he does stuff to draw people in so he can hit them with the check hook. If Jan fights composed, cage pushes him, goes takedowns, honestly, I could see Jan knocking Pereira out also. He just hits so hard, and he's a lot cleaner. Like, just his punches are a lot cleaner than Pereira's. Man, other than the age, it's hard for me not to like Jan here. Just having gone back in the tape, Bruno took him down so many times. And if, he's 20 pounds heavier, I don't think Pereira is getting up. Now at altitude, we just talked about it. Maybe it's not much, but at altitude, even Pereira in the first Izzy fight was so freaking gassed out. The fact that he could even get a knockout was pretty insane to me, because I just thought he was exhausted. So many guys have been on top of him. He still gets hit a lot. Give me Jan. I think this is a great line on Jan. Maybe I'll look like an idiot and he gets knocked out, but man, I think the better MMA fighter is Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah. On a weird technical analysis too, I think Jan's best attack. So he's got two things that he does really well. The left middle kick, or his right middle kick, I'm sorry, because his right middle kick, which I think is going to be almost non-existent. What he did with Rakic a lot, and we did with Ankalaev, is he fakes a right hand and he goes left hook to the body, right overhand. And that specific combo, coupled with the check left hook of Pereira, if he's faking that right hand low and Pereira check hooks over the top, well, Jan basically just ducked it. And he's going to hit that body and then come over the top of a swing and miss check hook every time. Now, if Pereira's, he floats those hands so low, if he throws a low check hook, that could be lights out for Jan. And I think that's going to play here a lot, is that fake the right to the body. Fake the right left hook to the body, right overhand that Jan throws, and that check hook of Pereira. I think him either floating under that or Pereira adjusting and throwing that low, I think is going to be the difference here in the stand-up department. And then, of course, the takedown is a full MMA thing. But that specifically, I'm curious to see, does Jan land that? And if he does, does he knock Pereira out, or does Pereira adjust and go lower with that hook? So
God, it's just hard to see that the 40-year-old is going to beat the guy that's so marketable by the UFC, the guy that they want to push so hard, and they'll have him fight for the title next. Like, I know we're definitely going against the grain, but on a technical level, like, I think Jan is better as an MMA fighter. He just is, and he's bigger.
I think the only knock on Jan is he's 40. That's it. This Jan, and he's 34. I wouldn't even question it.
All right.
Violence time. Main event, violence time. These men are going to wake up on Saturday, and it's going to be nothing but violence. Violence, 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 violence. Who is going to be more violent?
Justin Gaethje, of course.
Do you think he wins?
Yeah, I think Justin wins. Just kind of like what we said earlier, just about like sleeping in silk sheets. I think Dustin has done so much in his career. He has looked so good. He's beaten so many good guys. Even in the Oliveira fight, like after he couldn't get him out of there, hit him with everything that he had. I know he was probably a little bit hurt from getting work to the body, but at some point he just looked like he was just, all right, I've had enough. Like I'm done fighting here. Whereas Justin Gaethje just fought freaking Rafael Fiziev, and nobody, including myself, gave him a chance. I thought Fiziev was going to murder him. And he looked career best. His jab looked career best. Everything he did just looked career best. Like he looked amazing there. So I think the trajectories are complete opposite. I think Dustin's taking a few more fights to finish out his career, make some money before he's like, hey, I'm all good. That's it for me. Whereas Justin, I think, is still elevating. He's still working hard, training as hard as ever, training at elevation, training with the best guys. So not a lot from the technical aspect for me. I think that, I'm going to keep mixing. Justin has come a long way. Gaethje's come a long way. He's never really been just an insane brawler to me. Like he's always been a very technical, methodical fighter that just enjoys brawling. Like he knows what he's doing striking. I think we see no different from him. I really like Justin Gaethje to get the win here on Saturday night.
Yeah, on a technical level, I don't know that. I mean, technique isn't going to have much to do with it, and I know it does. Don't get me wrong. I know it absolutely does. By little by little, the more you get hit, the more you're going to break down, and the more all of this stuff happens. On a technical level, Poirier is so good at the calf kick, and that's what he's been using a lot lately. But I don't know that. I mean, you're going to do you want to get into a calf kick battle with Gaethje?
Nope.
I don't think so. And I think
and
these
guys stance anyway. So
exactly. So opposite stance, I think, is heavily going to favor Gaethje because Gaethje has been opposite stance, and he will switch step into a calf kick a lot. Poirier might try it a little bit, but I don't think he's as good as it or as comfortable as switching stances and stepping through and firing that calf kick on opposite stance. Then that said, of course, you've got the shell of Gaethje, okay? Or not of Gaethje, I'm sorry, of Poirier. Does the Philly shell roll, which I think is going to open his body up quite a bit that Gaethje is going to exploit. Dustin is as good and as tough and as everything as you can get. And I think stylistically, I think Gaethje threw everything he had at Khabib and just panicked, and it was the lights got to him. And then the same thing with Oliveira. Man, I think Gaethje just screwed that up. I forget, like he's wrestling and grappling, and I like, what are you doing, man? Just bail. Just take your time. I think he is getting better and better and better. And I think the Oliveira fight and I think that Khabib fight are going to, I think his biggest thing is he needs patience. Don't let the adrenaline take over. And I think we saw that with the Fiziev fight.
Yep.
Is he was violent when he needed to be violent, but he didn't panic and he didn't go nuts and he didn't outswing himself. And I think he just
jabbed. Tough. It was beautiful.
He was there and he needed the fight. When the fight was there, he has the fight. He's a little bit taller than Poirier. I think he's the better wrestler, so I don't think Poirier is going to be able to out-wrestle him. That actually the thing that worries me about Poirier with Gaethje is that if Gaethje does shoot and Poirier jumps to guillotine or something, because Poirier's jiu-jitsu and his submission game are really solid. So I think that that's actually the biggest thing that Gaethje is going to have to worry about in this fight is getting sloppy in a grappling exchange where he just jumps on his neck or something like that. I like Gaethje here. And not like I'm counting Dustin out. Like Dustin has a good shot of beating Gaethje. He's already beaten him. These are two of the best guys here. This is a show where we pick a fighter to win it. You know what I mean? So I think Poirier is as good as they get. But like you said, I think Poirier's best we've seen. And I don't think Gaethje is quite like, I think he's just reaching his apex right now. I like Gaethje here. Nothing crazy. The other thing is I actually wouldn't be surprised to see this fight go 4 or 5 rounds, to do more time than under 1 or 2. I think they've been here before. They've been in with each other. I think it's going to start a little bit slow, and then I think they're going to build into the fight. But I don't think this is going to be a 1-round barn burner.
Yeah, I agree. 2 ultra vets at altitude, pacing themselves for a 5-round fight. I think we might see a slower fight than anticipated by Cumboat Capital.
Yeah. Man, that's a wrap. Hopefully next time we are in the studio. It's just more fun to do it in person. It's just more fun. There's all these walls here and I don't know. So happy betting, guys. We'll get this uploaded ASAP and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.